The following collection of stories is all from my personal life. Every single one of them happened, but none of them sound real. Once upon a time, I went offshore fishing with a member of the NFL to go catch red snapper. Back when Baywatch was a real big deal, I actually got to ride on one of those yellow boats they have on the TV show. Once upon a time, I had drinks with an actual pirate. They proved it with pictures. I was not impressed and actually left pretty quickly. They were not one of those Pirates of the Caribbean kind of pirates, but rather I'm the captain now kind of pirates. It was not cute. It was a date. I broke my arm in 3 places because I was amazing and decided to walk across the top of the monkey bars. Don't do that. The last clip is what it looks like to drop your phone in the paint. I've been published in Oprah magazine. The first time I ever did mushrooms, the person who was shepherding my trip took me to a burlesque show, and it was the best day of my life. Shout out to Tifa Tiddlywinks if you're out there in the TikTok space. I think about you a lot. You are amazingly talented. Also Bunny Galore, oh my god. By mushrooms, I obviously mean the garden variety that you put on top of salads. I've been to 45 out of 50 states. I figured out how to get 500,000 followers making dirt into paint and then makeup into paint. There are actual medical journals written about my lady part. It had cancer once, but it doesn't now. But I get to tell people that it is famous. Over my entire adult years, I've spent about $30,000 on my teeth and they still look busted. I learned how to drive stick on a 1963 Ford Falcon with 3 on the tree, a red exterior, a red leather interior, and a white drop top. It was amazing. I got to drive a GTR to a wedding. I've ridden in 2 separate Lamborghinis. One time I saw a Bentley and a Maserati get into a car accident. The police were standing by as the men screamed red-faced at each other and did nothing, and it was amazing. It was the only time I've ever been happy to be in traffic. Once I had a license plate that said, "Oh my god, yay," and it was stolen 4 times. Here are some more stories that have actually happened to me. None of them sound real. One time, while in Bangor, Maine, I tripped on the sidewalk and deep-throated my lobster roll, and when I stood up, Stephen King was staring at me. I've purchased furniture from Will Riker from Star Trek. In a moment of pure cinematic BS, I actually had a date pee on me at the beach after getting stung by a jellyfish. Because I'm an actual idiot, I drove across the 3-mile bridge in Pensacola in a super sport during a hurricane. I did a 180 but somehow managed not to crash it. But the next week I managed to get into a car accident 2 days in a row in 2 different cars. I've never been the driver, but I've gotten to ride down a couple of quarter-mile drag strips in my time and gotten some pretty good sub-10 numbers. Did you know that you can V8 swap a Miata with an LS1 from a Corvette and get some real speed? I bet you can't guess how I know. My daddy used to make jet boats. If you don't know what those are, Google it. They are pretty neat and super dangerous. One time I got food poisoning directly before driving from Florida to Ohio, and I had to stop every single hour on the way there, and it didn't end for 2 days. The timing was immaculate. Places I've done the deed that I'm not supposed to. A waterfall. The roof of an abandoned hotel. The roof of the building I was living in. The roof of the building next door. The bushes outside of the indoor stadium at Sam Houston State University. Mercer Arboretum and Botanic Gardens. The Bolivar Peninsula Ferry. Stuck in traffic on I-45. Stuck in traffic on I-95. Stuck in traffic on 65. Stuck in traffic on 20. A lighthouse. Last week I shared how I accidentally deep-throated a lobster roll in front of Stephen King, and to continue on, here are some more stories that have actually happened to me that do not sound real. Approximately 100 tourists who were in a large group visiting Helsingborg Castle in Denmark have a picture of me walking around with my skirt tucked into my pantyhose where I wasn't wearing any underpants underneath that. And the only reason why I know so many people have a picture is because one of the people told me and then showed me theirs. Out of pure American habit, I slapped my ID down onto the bar in Berlin to order myself a beer. The guy picked it up and said, "Ooh, Texas, Houston, ich habe ein Problem." And then for the rest of the night, people sang Rocket Man to me and bought me drinks. Looking back on it, they were probably making fun of me, but from what I can remember, I had a great time. In some particularly special Texas dive bars, they have something called a mechanical bull. One time, while having drinks at a dive bar, I watched a woman walk through the door and announce to the room that she was single. She then got on the mechanical bull and slayed that thing. She walked out with a lot of phone numbers and no men, just numbers, and I am still thinking about her. The funniest thing I have ever seen in my entire life is a hermit crab who took up residence in half of a plastic dinosaur so that his little head was a hermit crab and his tail was a T-Rex tail. I flashed an entire auditorium. Man, this one's hard. When I was in middle school, I was nervous during a band concert and I was wearing a dress, so I kept flapping my knees back and forth for no reason, and apparently you could see straight up my skirt, but nobody could approach to let me know because the concert was happening. Continuing on with school-based trauma, I just remembered once I was carried out to the marching band field in the side of a sousaphone case. I was photographing an engagement session in Herman Park in Houston, Texas, and I got in between a goose and his mate, but I didn't know that. I didn't find out until the goose decided to run up behind me and bite me on my butt cheek. It would not let go. I had to slap his little face. I had to slap his little face. So when embarrassing stuff happens to you, just think about it this way. If you're lucky, you just get to tell a really good story later down the line.